Hello, this is Nathan, better known as CrazyhermitDM, and this is my podcast, The Hermit's Homebrew. Joining me today is Brent from Langeministudio as we talk about Dungeons & Dragons and tabletop gaming. Shifting gears, though, I wanted to talk about something I read online because it just lined up perfectly with this. Somebody else was talking about it. I'm sorry I can't give you a shout out because unfortunately I cannot remember who did it. So this was not me that recently discovered this. I found it through a social media outlet. It was the guards method in Dungeons & Dragons. It's a structured approach to organizing and improving combat encounters, typically obviously used by game masters or dungeon masters. It's kind of, as we've already been talking, ensures that a balanced and engaging session is it's a mnemonic device that breaks down the different factors a game master should consider to create more dynamic combat. There's G, which stands for goals. There's U, which stands for understanding. A for action. R for reactions. D for danger. And S for surprises. This is an older actually method as from my understanding. If it's not, or if it's a newer one, I apologize.
Yeah, shout out to whoever made it. You're awesome.
So G, goals, defining purposeful encounters. For players, it's, either defend, escape, or an acquisition. Defending a player, you gotta protect an NPC or
you're a guard. The stereotypical you're a guard for a caravan.
Yeah.
Get this caravan to point A to point B, protected from bandits. That's the stereotypical one, but it could be anything up to you have your mage is trying to stabilize a supercritical crystal in the middle of this area, and while your mage is continually doing arcana checks to siphon mana into it, you now have to create a defensive barrier to stop the hordes of undead from killing that mage. Stuff like that.
These apply for even just like storyline tactics, as we were just mentioning, like a caravan. Or this, but we're going to be more referencing like individual combats just to kind of ratchet up your combat. But we can talk about storyline stuff even too, like defend like the entire plot to the old '90s movie Waterworld with Kevin Costner. It was basically protect the kid.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
There's also escape. Players are overwhelmed and need to flee. You add that pressure. We were just talking about that with the Kyle Walden fight of like, do we need to escape? We can escape. We have all these refugees that are vitally important NPCs, emotionally connected to our thing. And one of them is kind of vital in why we are even here. We're here to rescue this guy. Yeah, it's one of the primary political figures toward the city that we're from.
Yeah, one of the senators, yeah. Then this escape could be, even in that specific setting, to where you have this big combat going on. It could be almost like a moving combat, to where you're going down these tunnels or hallways or these open fields, and you're constantly running into new threats that you have to either address or you have to just bypass because you can't stay where you were.
The thing I'm an avid fan of, and I don't know if they brought it back with 6E, but it was in 4E, was skill challenges.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a very, very big advocate for skill challenges. A staunch one. I would say, like, let's say, that stereotypical a giant battle's happening. We'll since we're just talking about vampires, we'll use them for an example. It's vampires versus slayers or vampires versus werewolves, and you're down in the sewers of this city or of a city, and then it's big old. We'll go grand 50 versus 50 throughout all these tunnels, and your group wants no part of this. They're trying to actively skill challenge their way through this thing while randomly vampire versus werewolf keeps happening every single tunnel.
Yep.
And it ratchets it up that tension of if they stay here too long, they're going to get thrown in the middle of this.
Yeah, because a vampire that's hurt is going to turn and see the party and go, I need to feed on you to heal.
Yeah.
Or a werewolf is going to turn and be like, I don't know if you're a vampire or I don't know if you're a thrall. Yeah. And then they'll attack.
Or, familiar, or there's some lycanthropes I know in previous editions that are The same as like a berserker barbarian. They get down to a certain point and it says
Yeah.
blood vision.
They get
almost.
into that frenzy again and just, go
Friend,
nuts.
foe, don't matter.
Nope. Don't matter. Yep.
There's also acquisition. Going from one side of the map to the other during this battle because you gotta hit this button, you gotta put the key in this lock, you gotta do something.
You got to deharmonize the resonance chamber.
Yeah, you gotta
Whatever, yeah.
you gotta retrieve the goblet of fire. We'll say to stop the big bad from,
Putting Harry Potter's name in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
an ancient artifact that's guarded by a sentient golem. Literally our last.
Yeah, that was literally our last one. Yeah, exactly.
For NPCs, I'd recommend that the villains' motives always be clear or at least feel real.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is to stop the hero at any cost is very generic. This campaign in particular, I've probably crafted the most, I'd hate to say it, but most sympathetic, I understand where the villain's coming from campaign.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
She's right. We've got to stop these things.
We've got a
She's
problem.
just
Yeah.
kind of doing it the wrong way, but she's got a point. I'm only killing 20 to 30,000 people to stop
To save millions.
existence.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if these aberrations come in, they're basically going to terraform to their own thing or whatever, or destroy reality because they don't.
They don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some aberrations in some settings, that's literally a thing. The far realms is their own thing and they don't like reality. You exist, so therefore they hate you because you get to exist and they exist in their realm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
I think that was actually one of the main things in Stranger Things when they question, why are you being like this? It's like, you exist and you get to be in this world and we don't. And therefore we hate you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's no common ground there. Yeah, when it comes to also with goals in combat, you have a reason for it.
Yeah.
Don't just, oh, hey, we haven't had a combat in a couple of sessions. You need to fight this thing. Well, wait, why are we fighting this thing? It makes no sense. So have the combats actually have a purpose, either with the story wise or character wise, or it has a reason to be there.
Or at least geography.
Geography is a good one. Yeah.
For if you're just doing random, like the old school random monsters. I don't think random monsters is as much of a thing anymore as it was in previous editions.
It's not really. But yeah, whenever you have a combat, have it be for more than just, oh, I need to throw a combat because my dial says we need to.
Yeah.
Have it have a purpose to draw the story forward, or to get the players invested, or something like that. Just have a reason for it.
The only time I think and it was actually just part of the story that I had planned, was another episode that we have is we talked about the attack of the fire wasps.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd already had it in my mind that they were going to take a long rest. This NPC is going to get kidnapped. This new NPC that they just met, he's, the unlucky, lovable dude.
Yeah.
He's trying to do the right stuff, but he's just that unlucky. But he gets kidnapped by these wasps. So the group, in my mind, the group would just sigh and I guess we gotta go save him.
I guess we gotta go save this guy. And even in that one, I was talking about how the combat means something. Yeah, that was a random encounter, but it also had it drove the point home of, we are not safe here.
No.
This realm is dangerous. And just because we put our tent down, we're still in a very violent, very wild area of the world.
You drove that home with Fallout, which should always, when we're playing the Fallout 2D20 game, shout out to Modufius for creating an amazing system there.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Yeah.
It has some holes in it and needs some polishing, but they're working on it, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I know they are bringing out Mass Effect too, which I'm kind of...
Okay.
Yep. They've been advertising it like left and right.
Oh, okay. I want to pick that up too.
But like when we're playing in the Wasteland, like when you're playing the video games, like you're unsafe. There's this roving random monster after another, and you did that really, really good with the Rad Scorpion random fights.
Nice, good. I'm glad.
and the digging and the popping and that those things do.
I'm going to bring those
But
back.
we're on a retrieval quest. I think we did have one rad scorpion retrieval quest, but I think the one that really stuck out that I'm mentioning, it was just a random monster fight that we're heading back from our previous quest. It had no bearing on the main story, but it just ratcheted up. It's like, we still got to get back to town because we are not safe.
Yeah, just because you finished the quest doesn't mean you're clear. So yeah, but again, that was the purpose of that. It wasn't just to be, oh, we need to fight again. Like, well, yeah, but no.
The next letter would be U, and that's for understanding. It's empathy kind of on both sides. It's understanding the perspective of both sides of the encounter. Sometimes when you're just like a forever DM like me, you sometimes do lose the player's perspective unless you kind of play on both sides. I am lucky that I have enough experience to where I can, and I'm a writer besides a DM, that I can kind of sit on both sides, and that's actively actually how I try and build encounters. Like, how are my players going to view this?
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of reverse engineer it. But you also want to think about, what do the enemies know about the players? A clever opponent may exploit a party's weakness. For instance, our big overarching enemy, the Overseer, never has made an appearance. Oh, has made one appearance.
Oh
to
yeah,
kill. Chase.
To chase, yeah.
So he made only one appearance, and that was a random one-off. I think he did a wild surge and said...
Oh, yeah, it was a wild surge, yeah.
And he teleports to a random realm.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes, I get to roll that. I was like, no, you don't get to go to a random realm. I choose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you took over, and they're like, nope, I get to... We're in my playhouse now.
Yeah. I go this one time, because I had like a roll chart. And I think actually, no, wait, it was a roll chart, and he rolled Underdark. That's right. If I remember right.
This is an appropriate time to introduce
that evil guy. Yeah. I'm like, perfect. I go, I'm not going to be a Wizards of the Coast thing and only make the main villain on the last 2 pages of my story.
Yeah, no, it's...
shout out to the Eve of Vecna book. So, is your enemy familiar with the players? This Overseer, as I was mentioning, getting back to the original point, has been basically, I've reiterated it time and time again. This guy has eyes everywhere. He's been watching everything. He knows what to expect. And you can do this from even out of character sometimes. I sometimes actually recommend that. Of like, if you're at the table and a player is not quite understanding in character, you see them kind of stuttering, you're like, or failing to understand, like, why is this guy the way he is? You can take a step back from, and unfortunately it is metagaming, but in this time it's a productive metagaming. It's like, this guy has a 26 intelligence. He knows.
Yeah, he knows all the things.
Are you dropping just stat stuff, but it's also giving them, oh, okay, 20 intelligence is mastermind.
Yeah, this is mega mind type stuff here, yeah.
Just a 20 is just like, an 18 to 20 is like Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory. Mm-hmm. Or Sherlock, maybe not Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is more like 20 wisdom more than intelligence, but it's superhuman. Overseer has, a 24 to 26 intelligence, and it's hive mind intelligence. It has a brain capacity that you can... not humanly, even as a player, comprehend.
Yeah, exactly.
You just have to assume they know.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're a hive mind,
they
know.
See and they know that they know that they know, because they're all the same thing.
Yeah.
Ugh, hive minds.
That ratchets up the tension, though. Like, especially for our final combat battle of like, you guys are trying to take the steps towards this, but how do we take the steps towards an enemy that knows what's coming?
That can see everything, that has eyes everywhere, that it just spends its days and nights just thinking. Yeah.
And that's actually in the Volo's books with beholders. They sit in their lairs.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're described as one of the most paranoid creatures in the multiverse.
Egotistical and
thinking
paranoid,
of every what if they come in this part of my lair. What happens if then they try and counteract that.
Yeah, what if they're another beholder?
So, as I was mentioning, I like to go through the player's viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Example, the floor is littered with old bones, broken chains. You smell ozone and hear a faint buzzing noise. In my mind, my players know what type of DM I am. I know Brent, for instance, will automatically know when I say that you smell kind of ozone. That's usually a sign of very powerful magic's present.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I have explained that more than once to Tove and Toy Bar. Rama's not so much, but those two, because they're a little bit more versed with magic, of this place smells like ozone. It's like you're highly saturated in like oxygen here.
Almost to the point that you can feel it, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been in like an area where you can almost with a high magnet and you can feel it?
Oh, yeah. You can, it just feels off. Yeah. Mm.
You can feel the power.
Yep. I was walking through it was the hydroelectric power plant down in Missouri. And I actually was lucky enough to get a tour of it, and they took us through the main generator area, and they had like the pipes were like the river water was flowing through the pipes, and took us by like, I don't know if they're generators or dynamos or whatever, but yeah, you could hear that hum of it producing the energy, and you could kind of feel the air. It felt, I can't describe it. It felt different. It felt heavy.
Yeah.
Because there was that much power, like, focusing around.
I think the one I drove home the most, and it's because I knew the player, and I knew that they know that feeling, because me and her at the time had discussed it, of the old TVs. You could be on the opposite end of the house, and you could tell when one was on, because it had that.
It was on. Yeah.
Like, there's one just set as a black screen, and it's on, because you could somehow, without hearing it, hear it, or you could feel it or something.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh,
and so you go searching for it. And I go, imagine you're hearing that in this arcane library, but it's like 10 times the feeling of that. And you're just searching everywhere for it. Like, what is that coming from?
Well, I haven't thought of that forever. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, that too, with the TV being on.
Yeah.
With no signal. Well, yeah. Know what you're talking about.
And that drove home. That sort of thing. But you walk into the combat and you say you don't know where that's coming from, but you can feel that. So there's some sort of power source in here. There's a scrying spell. There's something. Somebody's watching us, or there's some sort of unseen thing happening here. If you have an older player, such as us, as we do, that's going to drive home, as it just did to Brent. And I just literally watched him just kind of like, wow.
Yeah, yep. So yeah, you walk in there and then you don't see anything. Now you're ratcheting up that paranoia. Because, okay, there's something going on. We know there's something going on, but we don't know what. And players will go nuts. Like, envisioning all these different things, trying to figure out what it is. And in reality, it's probably just like a scrying eye.
It's a scrying eye, or the equivalent of like an arcane light switch that got left on.
It could just be that, yeah, you have those cold fire lamps or whatever, and maybe they lost their magic, and now they're trying to turn on, but they can't.
Yep.
Could be something small.
But and then that adds to things like what, like if there's an ever burning torch or a drift globe, if you're playing an older edition.
Oh, drift globe, yeah.
What turns those off? Those things just stay on. Why would anyone turn that off?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like they're there to be turned on, to stay on.
What creature values darkness? And that.
There you go. Yep. Yeah, what values darkness and what could shut magic down? Yeah, which.
And there you go. You're just like thinking, and you're not even playing at this point. You're just like, oh, okay, what's in here?
What can do that? Yeah.
What can do that? and what values darkness, now I'm on edge.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm checking corners and behind me and above me.
The next letter would be action. And it stands, for the dynamic and logical choices, kind of in combat. The combat
Logical. Who's here to be logical?
combat at its best is a flow of action, and when it feels organic yet challenging, you're going to have lots of clunky parts no matter what game you ever play.
Yeah.
But this is ensuring your NPCs you act with intent and not just cannon fodder. You can also have cannon fodder, though, too, because I'm a big fan of 4E minions.
Oh, you use those minions all the time, yeah.
Yeah. Use a tactical variety, though. Give enemies distinct roles to add complexity. For example, a melee brute who pins players in place. You just dealt with a golem that literally kept stomping the crap out of your paladin.
To kind of bug stomp me, yeah.
A gargantuan, literal 40-foot golem that just stay down, you paladin.
Stop dodging and stop healing.
A sniper who harasses from a distance. I mentioned earlier in a previous part of the this series, your archer or your crossbowmen are not going to stand in the middle of the road and fire an arrow. They're going to fire, take cover, reload.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. I kind of like that thought of anyone who's ever played the original Metal Gear Solid. There was one the original fight with Sniper Wolf, to where you're in this long corridor and you don't have the sniper rifle yet, and Meryl gets shot and she gets hit in the leg and she goes down, and then Snake's hiding behind and he looks out and he sees like, oh, there's a sniper down there. That was a very that was a really good fight, to where you have to leave a person behind to go get a sniper rifle and come back and have a fight with her. That was really good. So when I see the sniper harassing from a distance, I could see that happening in D&D, to where you have your party is walking down an alleyway or even in a dungeon, and you check everyone's passive perceptions, and aside from Tove, you could probably get away with this. Out of nowhere, a spell or something just comes flying out of nowhere and either hits somebody or it clicks off the wall or whatever, to where everyone has to get down or hide. Like, where did that come from? What was that? So that could, I'm probably going to use that at some point in time. I'm going to have to file that one away. But that could, help get that, get that encounter to where combat's coming. Yeah. But it may not be happening like that exact moment. But you have to gear up for it, to where maybe if you got someone with a tank or whatever, and so, okay, cool, they can move defensively or whatever to move down, try to figure it out. Or you can have someone run down, draw fire, while someone with a higher perception tries to see where the sniper is or whatever.
The thing I'd also recommend, since we're talking about action and all that, is just... So if you have like one main bad guy, you want to give them a little bit of a stat block. But if you have a bunch of little people, try and keep their stat block as simple as possible.
Simplicity.
If you have like 8 archers, or 8 to 12 like little minion archers, you don't want a page of abilities that's just going to clog up combat and make it.
You've got to find those abilities.
Another actual gem tip, and shout out to Sly First, the Lazy DM. I was listening to his podcast. He goes, the most the combat challenge rating system is a little wonky with 5e. As I've mentioned before, it's one of the weakest parts. But the owlbear is probably the most accurate challenge rating for the beast that it is. And you can take just its stat block and reflavor it a bit to do a different... like a different beast, and it's always going to be a challenge no matter what, if you're trying to do like a wilderness track. Going back, the action economy, like ensuring the pacing of the combat, players keep engaged. If you're running a single boss, Brent just mentioned that he may not like legendary actions, but that kind of...
I get why they're there.
The action economy after so many levels gets very, very lopsided. Especially when you have a fighter that can attack 3 times in a single turn, action surge, do it again.
You've got wizards dropping haste spells and all sorts. Yeah, the action economy does get kind of nuts. So I get why they're there.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
There's also for creative player actions, though, which I've done more than once, especially during this campaign, encourage players to think outside the box and reward them for being inventive. Let me repeat that for the back row. Encourage players to think outside the box and reward them for doing so.
Absolutely. Yes. Because if your players are being inventive, if they're thinking creatively, that means they're engaged and they're thinking about what's going on and they're invested. That is a good place to be. Reward that.
I recently did another podcast that will be coming out here soon. And I was talking about my episode, how the newest player beat the scariest villain in the demi-plane situation.
Amazing.
Great episode. Even more amazing thing to witness. And I was mentioning that situation of like, what's the craziest thing that's happened to you lately at the table? And that is it. And that was the most out of the box thing. And he goes, well, you're a lot more, probably more of a dungeon master rule of cool than me. I told him, I go, yes, I probably am. I am very more lenient towards rule cool. I go, but if you look at the way the rules are written with demiplane, it is a busted spell. I'm not going to deny.
Yeah, show me where it says this can't happen. Yeah.
It doesn't say anywhere if it has to be on a vertical surface.
Nope.
This villain had Tasha's hideous laughter cast on him. He was incapacitated. And then he saved, and then the demiplane got thrown on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I allowed even something that isn't in the thing of he's falling in and he does a save to see if he falls in.
Yeah, you gave him a saving throw to kind of try to avoid this because it is kind of a busted situation.
He still failed.
He failed. Okay. Hey, it works. Yeah, that don't punish that sort of creativity and knowledge from a player of their spells and actually reading what the spell does. Shocking.
Yeah. Like, you know, like how disheartening that is if you have a new player, they figure out something rules as written.
Mm-hmm.
It does work that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the DM goes, no, because I don't want that to happen.
But
it's not because you shouldn't ever tell your player, no, just because I don't want that to happen. No.
Yeah, that... Oof.
You're taking away player agency then.
Yeah, because then that means you're going to throw out any rule that you want just because you don't like it. And then reinstate it whenever you feel
You're deflating player agency. You're deflating the action. You're not ratcheting up the tension. You're just taking all the wind out of the sails.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You're destroying a big cinematic moment right there.
Yeah.
That is like a top 3 moment in all of my D&D career.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be talking about that for years. That was freaking amazing.
Hey, tabletop gamers. Thank you for watching this episode of the Hermit's Homebrew. We come out with new episodes every Wednesday. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends as we continue to level up and grow.